Oh God, I'm gonna hate listening to this.
Last time on Dragon Ball Z.
Good evening. I'm Byron Pitts in New York. We have breaking news this evening. New York Mayor Eric Adams has been indicted by a federal grand jury.
My fellow New Yorkers, it is now my belief that the federal government intends to charge me with crimes. If so, these charges will be entirely false, based on lies.
The Justice Department has just instructed federal prosecutors in the Southern District of New York to drop the bribery case against New York Mayor Eric Adams.
Well, don't we have a tale for you guys today? Because apparently the Justice Department, under the Trump administration, as of right now, as of this moment, has decided that they are going to drop the charges against New York City Mayor Eric Adams in relation to a corruption scheme that allegedly involved the nation of Turkey, that involved, of course, upgrading his flights. We also had a bunch of different text messages.
So we've got the upgrading his flights meme, ignoring the fact that I'm pretty sure it was 6 figures worth of bribery stuff that was talked about, but he's downplaying it already, of course.
And whatnot that we went over in a previous video, and supposedly the word on the street, the word from the mainstream media, is this was due to the fact that Eric Adams signaled and basically promised to work with the Trump administration and work with ICE on mass deportation. So
that's not just the word on the street, that's also the word coming from the memos coming out of the Department of Justice from Beauvais himself, but he's trying to downplay what the media is reporting by implying it's fake or not true.
We got to talk about all this stuff. The plot twist right here, Eric Adams claiming with his attorney that these charges will never be brought again, and whether or not any or all of the rumors or the innuendos related to this are actually true. But before we do, I'll remind you, this weekend, February 15th and 16th, DebateCon 5 is happening. I will be debating on the 16th. The link to tickets is in the top of the description. It is in Newark, New Jersey, so if you're there in and around the area and you can make it out, I'd love to see you.
This came in a letter from the acting...
Can you explain Chevron? Why? Why do you want to know about that right now?
Number 2 official at the Justice Department, Emil Bovee. The letter simply directed federal prosecutors here in New York, Lindsay, to drop the charges against Mayor Eric Adams, who was scheduled to go on trial this spring, charged with corrupting his office by taking bribes in the form of luxury travel benefits and the like.
So in a previous video on this channel, we went over the indictment and the charges against New York City Mayor Eric Adams, and I think it's absolutely crucial for you to understand that as of right now, even though the charges are being dropped pending review from the new attorney that is going to be appointed to the Southern District of New York, that the case against him, at least according to the indictment, appeared to be rather strong. So there were a couple of different elements in here, like Eric Adams fast-tracking an approval of a Turkish embassy without proper fire inspections.
In exchange for official favors, the most prominent of which federal prosecutors said was interfering in trying to get the new Turkish consulate open before the FDNY was comfortable with the operating permits. But tonight, the number 2 official in the Justice Department has instructed federal prosecutors to drop the criminal charges against Mayor Adams. Still not clear how the federal prosecutor's office is going to respond, because any decision like that would have to go before a judge.
Now, of course, he was obviously close to the nation of...
Hold on.
Tonight, fearing
approval of a Turkish embassy, according to the indictment, appeared to be review from the new attorney that is... And I think it's absolutely crucial for you to understand that as of right now, even though the charges are being dropped pending review from the new attorney that is going to be appointed to the Southern District of New York,
I don't think his statement there is true. It's not pending review. It's saying that those decisions can't even be reviewed until after the November election. I think the matter shall be reviewed and the matter shall be reviewed by the confirmed U.S. Attorney in the Southern District of New York following the November 2025 mayoral election, based on consideration of all relevant factors. So there is no review of this decision until after the election. So he's incorrect there.
that track
interfering in trying to get the new Turkish consulate open before the FDNY was comfortable with the operating permits. But tonight, the number 2 official in the Justice Department has instructed federal prosecutors to drop the criminal charges against Mayor Adams. Still not clear how the federal prosecutor's office is going to respond, because any decision like that would have to go before a judge.
Now, of course, he was obviously close to the nation of Turkey. He had been there more than a few times. He was receiving upgrades on flights and whatnot, according to the indictment. But the most crucial thing is that Eric Adams allegedly, according to said indictment, was using illegal campaign contributions funneled through Turkish nationals to American citizens as essentially straw donors in order to get a match of funds from the New York taxpayer in order to run his particular campaign. So if you guys are unaware, in the city of New York, we have some public financing and whatnot. And essentially, if you get small dollar donations, because you're pursuing those small dollar donations, you can get a certain amount of those donations matched by the city.
Good job. He read the indictment. At least that is true. And I think his campaign raised up to $10 million. Now, we don't know how many of these, I don't know if they alleged in the indictment how many are fraudulent, but that's public matching of funds of at least, I don't know if you'd say at least 5 million, 4 or 5 million, or a few million, but...
Or by the state of New York in order to run your campaign. And allegedly, supposedly, this is a method to reduce corruption. Now, of course, this happens to be hilarious because apparently this was the exact mechanism that the Adams campaign ended up using in order to increase corruption. And to be clear, Eric Adams' campaign was not accused of taking a little bit of money, because essentially the way this program worked is that for every $1 that you received, you could get $8 of matching funds up to the amount of, again, $250. So obviously it became a little bit suspicious when all these different individual donors that had a connection to this Turkish corporation were donating $250 exactly in order to be able to get Eric Adams the matching funds, which again were 8 times that. That's the $2,000 number. And of course, this all added up to 10.
See, this has got to be such a cognitive mindfuck for Sean, because when this guy was initially charged, I haven't looked at Sean's coverage of this, but I bet Sean was ecstatic because this is a Democrat and he probably fucking hated this guy. And the fact that he's using public funds as part of like a fraudulent scheme, this is just probably, I would imagine this was like fucking Christmas for him. But I would have to go back and look at his initial coverage. That'd be my guess. But are there tweets or anything when these indictments were when the indictment was first announced?
million in public financing that was funneled to Eric Adams' campaign in order to maximize his chances of winning. Now, we have been clear on this channel repeatedly that Eric Adams is a Brooklyn borough president, or that's what he was before he was the mayor. The borough presidents are a nebulous position, and those are absolutely rife with corruption. Anybody can see that, and I told you that way back when during the campaign for mayor when we were covering it on this channel. That being said, of course, according to the indictment, this corruption dates back in and around there, obviously. This was actually a topic during the mayoral debates that Andrew Yang brought up time and time again. But unfortunately, in that Democratic primary, even though Adams was a total goofball and he had all the stink of corruption allegations that long predated the Biden administration's DOJ indicted him, the fact of the matter is he was the best of the terrible candidates because every other one of those candidates was either a super hardcore socialist or somebody who wanted to defund the police or abolish the police.
Damn, I'm so curious how he's going to react to the, ooh, now Daddy Trump is getting rid of all the charges. How does this balance out in his mind? I'm so curious.
Greetings.
This was his first video about this. Eric Adams is going to jail.
And salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and today we got to talk about the recent allegations against Mayor Eric Adams because my mayor, the mayor of New York City, has recently become the first mayor in the history of the city of New York to be indicted on criminal charges while he's in office. This story is absolutely crazy. It involves foreign influence from the government of Turkey, illegal campaign contributions, wire fraud. It also involves some straight up bribery if the allegations are proven to be true. And on top of that, Mayor Eric Adams is throwing out anything and everything that he possibly can in order to defend himself, including accusing the Biden administration of being a bunch of evil white racists and the Justice Department, as well as saying that they're going after him because he's talking about the illegal migrants in a way that his own party doesn't like. It's madness. We're gonna get into
Oh shit! And that's exactly why they dismissed the case in the Trump department. They said, oh, it was just because he started attacking Biden's immigration policies. That's why they charged him, and that's what was called out here in Bovey's memo. It cannot be ignored that Mayor Adams criticized the prior administration's immigration policies before the charges were filed, and the former U.S. attorney's public actions created appearances of impropriety that implicate the concerns raised in the Attorney General's February 5th, 2025 memorandum. So this is literally something that that they cited as an excuse for why there was improper charging. So here, Sean is incredibly critical of Eric Adams throwing anything out here to say that these charges are improper. Well, let's see how he contends with this now. I'm so curious.
police or both. And unfortunately, Eric Adams was the best the Democrats could put forward. So I was happy, despite my corruption concerns, that he ended up winning their primary. Now, of course, if you win
actual retarded cancerous bundle man AJs, well, he might actually have, maybe he'll have a principled position on this and he'll say Trump made a huge mistake dropping this. We'll find out.
Eric Adams was the best the Democrats could put forward. So I was happy, despite my corruption concerns, that he ended up winning their primary. Now, of course, if you win the Democratic primary, your chances of winning the mayoral election are extraordinarily high, not as high as other cities like the city of Chicago or other solid blue cities, because again, New York City had 5 consecutive Republican mayors or 5 consecutive Republican mayor election wins. But yeah, it's obviously a disaster, and Eric Adams decided to defend himself in the worst way humanly possible, which was, of course, to line up as many black people as he could and accuse the Department of Justice of evil white racism.
This is not a black thing. This is not a black thing. This is a you thing. This is a you thing, Eric Adams. This is not a black thing. Your policies are anti-black. You are disgrace to all black people in this city. The things that you have done are unconscionable. You hurt our schools. Our streets are dirty. Our children are harassed by police. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. You can just be all you want.
Press conference.
People are with us. And this is not a black thing. This is a justice thing.
Is there anything more New York than that mayoral press conference? You have the horns honking, traffic blazing, you have alarms going off, all the crazy background noise from the city of New York. And in addition to that, even though Eric Adams is lining himself up with all these different various black people, including the people dressed in the African garb, you have somebody shouting him down at saying that he's an embarrassment and all these other crazy things. So yeah, obviously Eric Adams was in a lot of trouble. And by the way, he's not the only one in his administration that was facing indictment. You also had the police commissioner and all these other different various appointees that were either involved in his scheme or different schemes, because this guy brought the corruption from the Brooklyn borough president to the mayor of New York City, and it's an absolute embarrassment. Now, with that being said, Eric Adams had maintained that he was being persecuted by the Biden administration for talking about the migrant issue.
They know where I come from. I've been fighting injustice my entire life. That fight has continued as your mayor. Despite our pleas, when the federal government did nothing as its broken immigration policies overloaded our shelter system with no relief, I put the people of New York before party and politics.
And I understand why he would go in this direction. Essentially, he's trying to peel off some support from the evil orange man's base, and for whatever reason, this has appeared to work for a lot of people, despite the fact that, again, Eric Adams' corruption is well documented and well noted. And in fact, Eric Adams has also been trying to get really close to Trump, praising him prior to the election, saying that you shouldn't call him a fascist. He went to Mar-a-Lago after Trump won the election.
And so we know that Mayor Adams did go visit Donald Trump in Mar-a-Lago just a few weeks ago. Any known connection?
We don't know specifically what they discussed, and the mayor has been pretty coy about it, but I think there was no question he was pushing for a pardon or some kind of intervention by President Trump. Now, this comes way before the mayor even goes on trial. Was there any kind of quid pro quo? That we're not sure, but we know that Adams has been fairly quiet when it comes to issues like immigration or congestion pricing or other things where Trump may want to have some influence in New York where a different mayor may have outright stood in the way.
And of course, even though the inauguration day was Martin Luther King Jr. Day, Eric Adams actually last minute canceled all of his events in order to see Trump get inaugurated. Now, of course, he said that the reason he did that was because he was invited last minute, but in reality, we all understand what is happening here. And it looks like, in my opinion, Eric Adams got his wish. He got the charges, maybe not dropped altogether, but at least dropped until the election, as per this memo that, again, is a recommendation from the Department of Justice analysis to suspend the case at least until after the election, when a new district attorney for the Southern District of New York can review it.
Yeah, a lot going on, a lot of breaking news. It seems every day there, Antoine. Well, today it is the top federal prosecutor here in Manhattan resigning today rather than obey the order from the U.S. Justice Department to drop corruption charges against Mayor Adams. Now, we were talking about Danielle Sassoon, a Republican who was the interim U.S. attorney here in the Southern District of New York. Now, her abrupt resignation comes just days after the DOJ directed the office to drop the case against Adams, in which he is accused of accepting illegal campaign contributions and bribes of free or discounted travel from Turkish nationals who wanted to buy his influence. President Trump's Justice Department wanted the case dropped, saying the mayor needed to help carry out the president's immigration policies, and that the case was politically motivated to hurt the mayor's chances of winning re-election in November.
Now, obviously, the local news here in the city of New York is very skeptical of the sudden dropping of charges against Mayor Eric Adams because the previous indictment made it seem like they had him dead to rights. Again, they had text messages, all these different other various things. Eric Adams actually ended up getting stopped in his limo in order for the police to seize his phone, the FBI. And one of the funniest things about this is that Eric Adams said that he actually changed his PIN code from a 4-digit PIN code to a 6-digit PIN code in order to make sure none of the staffers would delete information or evidence off the phone because he was trying to be so secure and so transparent with the FBI. And then they asked him what the 6-digit PIN code was, and Eric Adams said he didn't remember it. So this guy was acting guilty, and the media very much took note of it. So obviously there's some skepticism on the charges suddenly being dropped, and people seem to have the perception that Eric Adams did cut a deal around the migrant issue, and that's why he is currently dealing with the charges being dropped as of right now. And the reason why I keep saying as of right now is because you actually have the attorney for Eric Adams making the claim that the charges are dropped completely, they'll never come back again, and you can hear that right here.
But it's another issue, immigration, that the mayor's attorney acknowledged today was of high interest to the Justice Department.
That's not what the attorney said, that they were dropped forever. In fact, I think that she said almost exactly the opposite, that it gives them leverage to bring back the charges in the future. Danielle, I think, said almost the opposite. This is a longer memo. Can I find it in here? She did say this, right? No, his personal attorney. Oh, I thought you were talking about the U.S. attorney. My bad.
Again, keep saying as of right now, did cut a deal around the migrant issue, and that's why he is currently dealing with the charges being dropped as of right now. And the reason why I keep saying as of right now is because you actually have the attorney for Eric Adams making the claim that the charges are dropped completely, they'll never come back again, and you can hear that right here.
But it's another issue, immigration, that the mayor's attorney acknowledged today was of high interest to the Justice Department.
Obviously, if you indict the sitting mayor of New York City, who has lots of responsibilities for public safety, that has an impact on his ability to function.
But attorney Alex Spiro insists there was no quid pro quo and no legal threat from the Trump administration to the Adams administration.
There is no looming threat. This case is over. This case will never be brought back.
But this is not technically the case. In fact, in the memo that was sent to the Southern District of New York, they made it clear that this is not about immigration, which again may be a denial that you're trying to deny a little bit too much because it is about immigration. And they said that they're suspending it pending review of the new person put into that position. And also they want them to conduct the review after the election.
Sounding definitive, even though the Justice Department memo, while ordering prosecutors
Okay, he didn't say this in the beginning there, but he does have it here, so he's aware of that. That's good.
dismiss the pending charges, also left it open, saying the matter shall be reviewed by the confirmed U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York following the November 2025 mayoral election.
So it seems like they're giving Eric Adams a chance to win the election. They're following that federal doctrine where they don't intervene in an ongoing election. But the fact of the matter is, if he's guilty of these charges, getting him to face the consequences of that, I believe, are more important than Eric Adams' somewhat promises in order to deal with immigration.
Some officials worry that threat makes Adams vulnerable when he meets tomorrow with Trump border czar Tom Homan, who has promised mass deportations.
I want to make sure we protect immigrants. We cannot have a system where we're opening our doors to ICE and federal law enforcement agencies. And so I will always push back on that.
When he arrived in Sunnyside this afternoon, I asked the mayor about what his political rivals have said, that he's now beholden to the president. How would you reassure New Yorkers that you have their interests at heart and not President Trump's interests?
Hold on. You got to give me this one. You got to give me this one. You actually have to. This might be the highest. This might be the best match I've ever given on stream before, okay? D'Angelo from The Wire. Absolutely. 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 Absolutely.
Look at the record. Look at what I have done, how I have recovered the city.
Now, look, I know some people out there in my audience are going to be super pro-Trump no matter what, so even if he did do a quid pro quo with Mayor Eric Adams in order to get the illegal immigrants out, people are going to pretend that this is some kind of five-dimensional chess, but I will point out a couple of things about that particular argument. First and foremost, Governor Kathy Hochul, the Democratic governor of New York, has actually been pretty supportive of Mayor Eric Adams and the New York City governing structure, even though a bunch of different indictments and resignations have gone down. So the idea that it's just the Trump administration that is backing him is just not the case. Hochul is backing him. She's been backing him for a very long time. It has not called for him to resign, and that has allowed him to maintain some level of legitimacy while in government, and he might owe favors to her as well if you're counting this as a favor from the Trump administration. And secondly, you got to think about who you're getting in bed with. You got to think about who you're partnering with, because Mayor Eric Adams may be the least bad person that was running in the 2021 Democratic primaries against all these other socialists and defund the police types, people running to the left of Bill de Blasio, but the man is an idiot through and through, and that is exemplified by the types of videos that he put out when he was a state senator. And if you know, you know, and if you don't know, then guess what? I'm gonna play a little bit of that for you.
What I'd like to show here is to empower parents on how to...
Okay, he doesn't look at all like him here.
a room inside their home. It's imperative that you should know what's inside your household. And no one can state that you can't search a room in your own home. You write the Constitution. There are no First Amendment rights inside your household.
So in this particular video right here, Eric Adams is trying to teach parents how to search their home in order to find illegal guns and prevent gun violence from being carried out on the street. And I will remind you that Mayor Eric Adams is a state senator that swears an oath to the Constitution. He was also an NYPD officer. He would eventually go on to become the mayor of New York. And he's saying nobody could say that you can't search your own home under the Constitution because you write the Constitution in your own house, and therefore there are no First Amendment protections against search and seizure. Again, this man, who was a police officer, doesn't even realize that the Fourth Amendment protects against illegal search and seizure and has somehow bungled the First Amendment.
My message to you, you have an obligation to protect your home. The First Amendment
Chest.
this. You just simple your loans and carry.
Also, this guy, unsurprisingly.
Okay, well, that's a fair video at least. That's good. Maybe we just need him to be talking about Trump helping corrupt Democrats, and then we'll get good AJW videos. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom. Boom, boom. Don't care about this. This. So is the conclusion that Adams is corrupt? I think almost certainly. I think everybody knew that. I don't think there's any contention. Even the Bovee or whatever and Bondi aren't contesting that.
Tariffs. Would you also direct agencies to study the impact they would have on prices in the U.S.?
No, there's nothing to study. There's nothing to study. It's going to go well. The United States is going to become a very, very strong economically country. Yeah.
Oh, we're going to be an economically country. Why does this retard have this fucking Gulf of America thing in the back? Does he take this with him everywhere he goes? Or is it just sitting in the Oval Office for all time?
Tariffs. Would you also direct agencies to study the impact they would have on prices in the U.S.?
No, there's nothing to study. There's nothing to study. It's going to go well. The United States is going to become a very, very strong economically country. Yeah.
Reciprocal.
True.
About a development in your hometown today. The U.S. Attorney has resigned over the DOJ's request to drop the case into Eric Adams. Did you personally request the Justice Department to drop that case?
No, I didn't. I know nothing about it. I did not.
If I could ask you about a development in your hometown today.
Wait, he knows nothing about it here, but then he said before she's been fired. Was that from the same thing?
It's a horrible war. It's a vicious, bloody war. We want to end it. To your other question, that U.S. attorney was actually fired. I don't know if he or she resigned, but that U.S. attorney was fired. That war is a horrible war. It's a vicious, bloody war. We want to end it.
Okay. I think they were asking about his involvement. Okay, I guess it's just kind of weird that he knows nothing about it here.
If I could ask you about a development in your hometown today. The U.S. Attorney has resigned over the DOJ's request to drop the case into Eric Adams. Did you personally request the Justice Department to drop that case?
No, I didn't. I know nothing about it. I did not.
If I could ask you about it.
I mean, I guess we can be charitable and say he knew nothing about why it was dropped. He just knows that the person was... Okay, what is this?
I'm not sure if this might interest you, but people ask me, how did you lose so much weight? And here's what I tell them. This is how I peed out fat in just weeks.
When things go sideways, will you be prepared?
Nope.
Are you still interested in a solar-powered generator? Because pay special attention, because I'm going to do something that until...
I don't think we should be submitting ourselves willingly to that kind of patronizing condescension. When we won. You know, I agree. We won. What a cross that is to bear. Can you imagine, lady? In fact, she's the only like non-Latina. Maybe she is Latina, Isabella, possibly. So I'm into Latinas. Can you believe what a cross that is to bear? Can you imagine? Imagine you go through all the hell of changing your sexuality and then you discover you're into Latinas. And I know I can't handle that. I know I can't handle that. So anyway, she's lovely, and she does a show with some leftists, and under each video, he's got this like 2-paragraph long disclaimer about what a terrible piece of whatever she is. You know?
Oh, he's talking about Beasley and the show he does with the one girl, I think, right?
No, I just believe that inviting people with reprehensible opinions, is necessary, blah, because the audience just can't take it. They just cannot handle it. And so I personally, no disrespect to the lovely Isabella, but I don't think we should be submitting ourselves willingly to that kind of patronizing condescension when we won. I agree. We won. I'm seeing her next week for dinner. I'm going to tell her to pull out the show because everything she does is framed by that terribly condescending. It's sort of there's a premise granted at the beginning of it that
he's just expressing that proposition that I said all conservative media is playing by right now. This is why I'm saying for like debates and stuff, they're not coming back until 2025 end of or 2026 during the midterms. If they feel like they have the power, this is why they all hide and cower from any type of actual adversarial conversation or any type of like big debate, is because, well, fuck, we won. We don't need to talk to these guys right now. Let's go hide in our little foxholes and, do our free media without being challenged, like completely ideologically unopposed.
She's on there as a kind of gargoyle, as a grotesque, as a sort of caricature of what an evil right-wing person. And I met this guy in a bar 2 days ago in DC, just coincidentally.
You're talking about Luke Beasley?
Yes, I think so. The one with the awful clothes.
Yeah, he's been here.
Yeah, he's been here several times.
I mean, he's somebody who's got sort of medium verbal IQ and just absolutely no actual intelligence at all. It's just I would
demonstrate. They never can demonstrate this. What is the lack of intelligence? Why do you feel that way? These are just like random ad homs. Like, considering that Beasley was on the show and obliterated like 5 conservatives at once, what does that say about you guys?
Be surprised to discover
he's been on the show several times, and when asked to explain why he believes things, he doesn't have answers.
Like Tim got eviscerated when he tried to stand up on that J6 shit and other stuff. It's so funny for him to describe it that way because he couldn't survive, because Beasley couldn't survive Tim Pool's pop quiz on every random criminal case in the United States afterwards when Tim was desperately trying to claw back some type of credibility from him.
I asked him, I said, what's the worst thing? I said, what's the worst thing Isabella believes or the worst thing she said? I asked him 4 times. He couldn't give me an example. And I said, because it's funny, because if you can't give an example of something awful that she believes, and yet you are
something awful versus the worst thing.
Humiliating and disrespecting her with this gigantic disclaimer underneath every single video because your audience are fragile retards who can't handle it. This is so rude, and I don't think we should be submitting ourselves to that anymore because we won, they lost, they're idiots, we're brilliant. Let's just stop.
That's why Taylor got booed.
Exactly. Yep. In a world where Taylor Swift gets booed and Donald Trump.
Why does he wear sunglasses inside? There's a guess I can make, but I don't actually know if it would apply here. I think that it's not just amphetamines, but when you abuse a lot of different types of drugs, it causes your pupils to dilate, which makes them more sensitive to light. So you wear sunglasses inside to stop the light. But I feel like any drug he could do, he would have a huge tolerance build up to. So I don't even know if his fucking pupils react anymore.
Think back to 5 years ago when Donald Trump gets a standing ovation from every household in the country and everybody in that stadium. We don't need to submit ourselves to this condescension anymore. Screw you guys. You lost. Go and crawl into a dark hole somewhere and cry, and come back to us when you're ready to fight. I don't think there's any reason for us to engage in any kind of debate or discussion whatsoever anymore. I think laugh, call them something. Call them something I can't say on this show, and then move on.
Let me tell you my opinion on Luke Beasley. He's got like 1 million subscribers on YouTube. I actually think he's probably a moderate with slightly right-leaning. The reason why he can't actually give you answers to any of his opinions is because he knows that there isn't a correct response. For instance, if
he's trapped, isn't he? When I met him, I sensed he was kind of a prisoner of his own.
Right. I'll give you.
Oh my God, people do this to me all the time. It's so boring. Like, engage with the points. Like, engage with the argument. Like, all this psychoanalyzing and all this like stupid about. Like, just if you disagree with the point, then engage with the point. Bring up some of the arguments and then engage with those arguments. Now we go into the psychoanalysis. This is such a tired, boring exercise for people that are just like that are actual fucking retards because I don't know if they don't have the theory of mind to engage with somebody who thinks differently than them. It's like, oh, he says something I did agree with. This must be from a deep place of insecurity. It's so boring.
you an example that doesn't necessarily pertain to him, but it's just a general concept. Like, if
and you won't even give a specific example to him. He's just going to generalize. Why? What the fuck? You guys are sitting here trashing him. Give an example of something he said. He's been on your show how many times at this point? The fuck?
he says, and again, I'm not. This is not anything he's ever said to me. I'm saying it's a hypothetical. What I mean to say is, if someone said to you, women, it's not fair. They don't get paid the same as men, and then you responded with, okay, explain, like, you do realize that job for job, women get paid sometimes more than men, especially younger women get paid more than men. And they respond with, I don't need to go into examples, and I'm not going to explain this. There have been many instances where he said something, and then I've asked him for an example, and he can't give.
What the fuck was that? So what? You think he would deny that there are some jobs where women get paid more than men? What was that even a response to? Did Tim Pool just lose an argument to a straw man? The straw man being that nobody would ever accept that women sometimes make more than men, but that women making more than men sometimes is a knockdown argument to women making less than men. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. I don't even know what the fuck he's trying to argue against.
One younger women, if he says, and again, I'm not. This is not anything he's ever said to me. I'm saying it's a hypothetical. What I mean to say is, if someone said to you, women, it's not fair. They don't get paid the same as men. And then
okay, if he said, okay, so I don't know if he would even say that verbatim, but women don't get paid the same as men. And then his response is,
he responded with, okay, explain, like, you do realize that job for job, women get paid sometimes more than men, especially younger women get paid more than men. And they respond with, I don't need to go into examples, and I'm not going to.
That's not even a response to that argument. Like, and it's so funny too, because these guys would eviscerate you for using that same logic. Oh, like, imagine him saying, like, men are stronger than women. And you go, well, sometimes there are some women that are stronger than some men. They would be like, oh, you can't generalize. You can't generalize that. That's bullshit. You can't take an exception. Blah, blah. Like, they would kill you if you use that type of argument for a gender argument. So why would he use it? That's not even a response to the question. It doesn't even disprove the claim. And Luke wouldn't even make an argument that's stupid. He literally did a straw man and then lost the argument to the straw man. What a stupid fucking line of dialogue.
Explain this. There have been many instances where he said something, and then I've asked him for an example, and he can't give one. Mm-hmm. And then afterwards, he actually knows that what I was saying was true and correct. But the reason why I can't give an example is because he can't defy his audience.
You're criticizing him so much for not being able to give a single example. Can you give an example? Give one example of this. Just give one example of this. How could you? This has to be a joke. This is performance art. This is theater. This is performance art. Tim Pool is seeing how much ridiculous. It's like Hassan. How much ridiculous shit can I say without the audio? Okay, I got an idea. I'm going to say, all right, listen up, guys. I can't give an example, but one of Luke Beasley's biggest problems, he can't even give examples. I can't give an example of him doing this, but you can tell how dishonest he is because he's not able to give a single example because he's bought in by such a fucking cult. And that's why he can't give a single example. I can't give any examples, but like this guy can't give a single fucking example because he's locked in such a cult, right? This has to be performance art.
Well, and he can't give one. Women get paid more than men. Fair, they don't get paid the same. I don't need to go into examples, and I'm not going to explain this. There have been many instances where he said something, and then I've asked him for an example, and he can't give one. Mm-hmm. And then afterwards, he actually knows that what I was saying was true and correct. But the reason why I can't give an example is because he can't defy his audience.
Yeah, and I think you're right about that. And I bet him, and sometimes I go like straight in on people.
Real quick, sorry, just let me put one more thing in it. It's because.
Is he going to give an example, or is he just going to psychoanalyze more?
As we know, being right wing just means you follow the news.
Oh.
To be, but it's true.
Well, right wing conspiracy is just something CNN hasn't reported yet.
Right. To be a liberal is to believe things that are not correct. And I'll give you an example. When the Burisma scandal happened, and Joe Biden literally said at I believe it was a CFR event or something, I told them unless you fire the prosecutor, you won't get the $1 billion.
These are more strawmen. That has nothing to do with the Burisma scandal. He was fully within his ability as Obama's representative negotiating foreign policy with Ukraine. And that was literally written in to Ukrainians' loan guarantees, was that they had to make dramatic changes to their prosecutorial system. And Shogun was a known corrupt federal prosecutor in Ukraine. Everybody around the world knew this. That's why Biden said this on the open news. And he wasn't making secret fucking phone calls like Giuliani and Trump were doing. That's the difference. Also, has Tim Pool ever acknowledged that that entire Burisma bullshit started with a guy who's now pled guilty to lying to the FBI about any tie that Hunter Biden had with Burisma and any corrupt dealings?
That is a fact that he said that and did those things. Mm. That instantly had me labeled conservative. But that's not a conservative position. That's just reporting the news.
It's not a political position at all.
But that's what it means today. So this is the point. When
I don't know, I'm getting worked up over this.
You get these liberals, for example, give you Hunter Avalone came on the show, and he smugly said that never happened. He has to say that because his audience would call him a conservative if he admitted it was true.
No, it's not the audience. I think
he started as a Milo mega fan, and the reason do you remember this, Serge? And the reason he started wearing aviators was because of me. And I've got some amazing DMs from him from like 2014, 15. I haven't released them yet. But they're absolutely they are oleaginous. They are.
Nick, what were you saying?
You're getting close to something here at psychology I've never been able to understand, because what you just
oh my, this is so cringe. This is the most like fucking gender studies, sociology wannabe, like Mean Girls, like feminist, feminine, like I guess with my like I shouldn't say feminine, I guess it's an insult, but like, oh my God, like why don't we deal in some facts? Why not bring up an example of something Luke said that's incorrect and then at least knock down what he said when he's not even here to defend it? Like the fact that you're constructing strawmans of a guy who's not even here is beyond fucking pathetic.
Describe the Biden clip that the man watched. Everyone saw that. You can't avoid the news to that extent. We've now got a situation. There's a social dynamic where we can all watch the same thing. The most grievous thing that happened in the last 10 years was those McMichael brothers that were apprehended a construction site robbery. He grabbed their shotgun and got shot with it. The guy that filmed that.
Oh, the Ahmaud Arbery thing, where they say that it was actually Ahmaud Arbery's fault that he got shot.
Got life.
Well, he got enough to be life. He's like he's an older middle-aged guy.
They all got locked up till they're dead. Right. All three of those guys, including the dude just holding the cell phone, right? Yep. My point is not about the sentence, not about how heinous that is that when you talk to people who are center shitlibs and just say, watch the video and tell me they don't see the same thing you see. It's physically there.
No, I don't know about. Again, I think this is giving them too much credit. I think what we've discovered with US AIDS and
again to lean on our legal stuff now, right? Why would you just watch the video? How about you watch the trial? This wasn't a federal thing, was it? Is there public footage of the trial where you can read the? I didn't follow this one as closely. Ahmaud Arbery trial, YouTube.
I did not.
Was this trial broadcast on Court TV or on any other place?
As well as that a reasonable person walking or
yes, the whole trial was broadcast. Okay, why not reference the trial? Why would you reference a single fucking video?
With the various other things that are about to come out, is that in fact the left is split into two groups: people who argue in bad faith, who know better, and
then people who argue in bad faith, and then people who are emotionally delusional, who are brainwashed,
idiots.
Oh, my bad.
And there is at any one time a healthy 30% of the population who are idiots. And that 30% of the population will always be influenceable, especially by people who have billions of dollars to spend on convincing idiots.
Billions of dollars to spend on convincing idiots? Like how Elon Musk spent billions of dollars on X to convince you guys, idiots, using constant fake news and propaganda?
So, if there's a fair election with no cheating and with the current levels of embezzlement and fraud and all the rest of it, you might expect perhaps 35% of the population to vote Democrat because they're either evil or idiots. You've got 5% evil and 30% idiots. And that's about how many left-wing people there really are. It's about 35%. It's not half the country like it is in the elections. That's the cheating. But if you take away the cheating and you take away all of the money that's spent on convincing idiots, you end up with the true figure of left-wingers in the country, which is like,
what is he going to say, 1% or 5%?
About 5%. 1 in 20 people is bonkers enough to believe this stuff, or malevolent enough to believe this stuff.
We had
I don't think you can hold.
Let me. The case was dismissed in Georgia.
You can't
and then it went national. And now they all got life.
Left-wing liberal opinions in good faith.
McMichaels?
Yeah,
they were convicted at the state level.
No, the feds went in. So the local prosecutor, threw it out because it was obviously self-defense. She got charged. Like she got some civil rights thing. Like she was looking at prisoners.
I was thinking.
Wait, what? I thought federal trials were never broadcast on TV. Was the Ahmaud Arbery murder case a federal case? Ahmaud Arbery Wikipedia trial. Was ultimately transferred to the Cobb County District Attorney's Office. Cobb County DA. This wasn't a federal thing, was it? In the Glenn County Superior Court. What is he referring to? Is he just making this up, or? Georgia Attorney General Christopher M. Carr formally requested the intervention of the FBI in the case on May 10th, which was granted the following day. Former Brunswick District Attorney Jackie Johnson was indicted in September 2021 for showing favor and affection to Gregory McMichael, her former subordinate, during the investigation, and for obstructing law enforcement by directing Travis McMichael not to be arrested. In the aftermath of the murder, Georgia enacted hate crime legislation in June 2020, then proposed citizen arrest law in 2021. So they just asked the FBI to help because they were worried about it looked bad, I guess, or I don't know.
They just dismissed her case after all these years. That's numbers all you want. This rot it translates into direct legal consequences.
And the legal system, we've seen it with January 6th.
It was state level. It was state level.
But it was a federal stepped in and rebrought or county, whatever. It went larger. My point is, don't worry about state.
He has no idea what the fuck he's just fucking retarded. He has no clue what the fuck he's talking about. He thinks that since the FBI was involved, it became a federal case, or he doesn't know anything about the jurisdiction or anything that's involved there.
The local jurisdiction said there's clearly nothing here,
yes.
And then it went to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation.
Psychology, where they watched.
No arrests were made for more than 2 months. The GCPD said the Brunswick District Attorney's Office first advised them to make no arrests. Then Waycross District Attorney George Barnhill twice advised the GCPD to make no arrests, once before he was officially assigned to the case and once while announcing his intention to recuse himself due to a conflict of interest at the behest of Gregory McMichael. A local attorney provided Brian's video to local radio station WGIG, which published video on May 5th. The video went viral on YouTube. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation arrested the McMichaels on May 7th and May 21st, charging them with felony murder and other crimes. The case was ultimately transferred. That's okay.
The video and saw what physically happened.
No, look, I'll tell you what happened. I'll tell you what happened with Ahmaud Arbery. When the guy who filmed it, so the McMichaels, simple version of it, Ahmaud Arbery was a suspect in felony burglary. The police had been going around showing his photo to people saying this is the suspect in a felony burglary. When the McMichaels...
There was a federal trial. This looks like it's for separate charges. All three men were indicted by a federal grand jury with 1 count each of interference with rights and with 1 count each of attempted kidnapping. So this, I don't think these were for the murders. That sounds like the state trial were the big ones here.
Confronted him despite being told not to. Ahmaud Arbery grabbed the shotgun from the younger McMichael, and in the fight over it, he got shot in the chest. A guy drove behind and filmed it, and was unaffiliated with whatever it is they were doing. When the reports first came in...
Fuck me, dude. I feel like I need to watch this whole trial because he loves citing this one. He loves it.
And the local prosecutor said...
Jesus fucking Christ, Tim is still on about that case. He's dead wrong. Why does he insist on dying on the... It's just one of the ones he loves to cite. He also likes to cite that... the George Floyd case as well, which he lies about too. And now I'm more familiar with the George Floyd one now, so I can call out his lies on that. I don't know the Ahmaud Arbery one though. I didn't watch this whole case.
There's nothing here. This is a guy who was wanted for. He was a suspect in a felony burglary. These guys had citizen's arrest protections.
He grabbed a gun.
He grabbed his gun. These things happen. However, the guy who filmed it was angry. I believe this.
I don't know if he actually. Is there anything saying that he was...
This is what citizen's arrest protection reports first came in. The local prosecutor said, there's nothing here. This is a guy who was wanted for... He was a suspect in a felony burglary. These guys...
Was he a suspect for a felony burglary? Where is this coming from? Fuck me. I don't have time to... Maybe we'll look up this case.
Had citizen's arrest protections.
He grabbed a gun.
He grabbed his gun. These things happen. However, the guy who filmed it was angry. I believe this is what happened. It's been a long time, so I may be wrong, but the guy who filmed it was upset that he was being lambasted in local media for being party to the killing of a jogger, they called him. So he had his lawyer release the footage. I believe the reason the state went after them is they basically said, this was done, it was under the rug, we were over with it, and because of your ego and need to prove you weren't involved, you opened a can of worms on our state, bringing riots and violence. I believe the reason they prosecuted him was as vengeance for releasing the information.
They may have been annoyed with what happened when he released it. Sure, I go, yeah, that's not why. They did because they were pressured to by national media.
Yeah. I think that's somewhat true, but I think the reason the state went after a guy who filmed was because by releasing the footage, he forced this upon them. They wanted revenge.
You have to understand these prosecutors have very few instances to make their names for anything. But when they do make their name for something, they get the opportunity to tap in to the USAID and to the State Department ecosystem of funding that might fund a run for a state level position that might ultimately...
Ooh, 20 minutes ago. Breaking, new resignations over Trump's DOJ moving to drop the Eric Adams case. John Keller, the acting head of the Public Integrity Section, refused to drop the case and resigned. 3 other members also resigned. Kevin Driscoll, the acting head of the department's criminal division, refused to drop the charges and also resigned. How many people do you think are going to resign over this?
Turn them into a congressman or something. Think about where Kamala Harris came from. She was Attorney General of California, right? She prosecuted my liposuctionist in California.
Sorry to hear that.
She did. Well, I don't know whether he did it or not, but doctors borrow each other's pads all the time.
Lots of doctors in prison, I'll tell you. Very high incarceration rate.
Well, they are bastards.
I'm sorry. I have a correction. They actually all were convicted and sentenced to life. It actually was a life sentence. Yeah. I was wrong about that. So the Michael's got life with the possibility of parole plus 20 years, and Brian, the guy who filmed, got life in prison with the possibility of parole after 30 years. Why did the guy who filmed get more? This is an honest question. Why did the guy who filmed get more time?
Because from the establishment's point of view, he committed the greater crime.
Because people watch the video and see different things.
Because
I think it's because the state was going after the guy who basically created their problem. Without that video, the case was done. There was nothing there. And then after the fact, he released it. Yeah.
Well, you know,
and do you know what happened with that? The reason why they got convicted is because the language of the law, as any sane person would have read it, is if you witness a misdemeanor, you as a citizen have a right to detain the person for a citizen's arrest. However, if the person is a suspect in a felony, you don't need to witness it. But because the law,
he wasn't a suspect in any crime, though,
was written something in the 18th century or 19th century, it was missing a comma or something to this effect. So the judge to the jury said, you figure out what the law means. And so it was interpreted to mean, if you were not witness to the crime, you had no rights to stop them.
You're giving the jury way too much credit, right?
Why the fuck would you have the right to stop somebody if you could just detain anybody thinking they're accused of a felony? What?
No.
Yeah. That's literally what happened. The judge,
white guy shot a black guy.
The judge instructed the jury and said, as to this law, and said, you decide whether or not they need to witness.
I know he told him that. Like, I understand the legal issues pretty well.
You have to understand that in high-profile cases like this, the jury is handpicked, the foreman is handpicked.
I get it.
You know,
in Minnesota with the George Floyd,
happened with Roger Stone.
These jurors were marched into a building surrounded by men with rifles as people were rioting in the streets, and they knew that if they let this guy go, whether he's innocent or not, that they would die.
Right. They do all these kinds of things.
Yeah, when Al Sharpton shows up and looks at the jury.
The foreperson in the Roger Stone trial was a woman who had projected rapist on the side of a Trump building, right? You know, like that was and the judge knew that and didn't get rid of her.
Well, they broke so like the lead juror, I believe, was in the big Proud Boys case when they got the four of them, they all got 18, 22 years, all that. Her quote was, I'm going to say this almost exactly, but paraphrasing is, I'm a black woman, so I'm qualified to judge people that hate me. It was words very much like that.
Right.
It's amazing that they were asking questions easily answered by referring to the court documents. They're asking why the guy filming got more time. We should be able to find. Yeah, I mean, I imagine if you look for the indictments, you probably can find a lot of this information. Or if you just watch the trial, which I haven't. I doubt he has. Is it really just 5.5 hours or whatever on that? There's no way. That would be insanely short, no? I imagine this is like days and days of... indictment. And they don't link it. This is the most fucking annoying thing that has ever been done in the history of all of fucking. Indictment for William Bryan. We don't want U.S. v. William Bryan. We want Georgia. Glynn County? Or no, it was Cobb County, no? United States versus William. No. We don't want the U.S. one because that was just for like obstruction of rights or something. Okay, in the Glynn Superior Court. Okay, this is the indictment. The grand jury, as aforesaid, in the name and behalf of the citizens of Georgia, charge and accuse Travis McMichael, Greg McMichael, and William R. Bryan. William was the one who recorded the video, individually and as parties, concerned in the commission of a crime with the offense of malice murder, for that the said accused person in the county of Glenn and state of Georgia, on or about did unlawfully with malice and further cause the murder of Ahmed Arbery, a human being, by unlawfully chasing him through the public roads of the Satilla Shores neighborhood in pickup trucks and shooting him with a shotgun, contrary to law of said state. Count 2 is felony murder. Count 3 is another felony murder? What the fuck does this mean? Only one person died, right? Felony aggravated assault. Did cause the death of Ahmed Arbery, a human being, irrespective of malice, contrary to the laws of said state. Travis McMichael. Why do you have, how are there like multiple felony murder charges? I guess it said it at this. Malice, felony murder, felony murder, felony murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, false imprisonment. I wonder if felony murder is for each of the underlying crimes. If a person dies. A person commits the offense of murder when he unlawfully with malice aforethought either express or implied cause the death of another human being, express malice, is that deliberate intention unlawfully to take the life of another human being, which is manifested by external circumstances capable of proof. Malice shall be implied where no considerable provocation appears and where all the circumstances of killing shall be abandoned. And malignant heart, a person commits the offense murder when in the commission of a felony, he or she causes the death of another human being irrespective of malice. A person commits the offense of murder in the second degree when in the commission of cruelty to children in the second degree, he or she. Okay. Weird. Okay.
Friendly reminder that if you want to catch us talking to you about the Grizzlies in a different...
Use the restaurant word. Apparently this guy explains why they charged the camera guy. Hold on one second.
way.
Check out our newsletter.
Subscribe for free. Your favorite podcast, that's us, now has a newsletter.
Every single day we send out a newsletter.
One stop for Ultimate Team.
Did that guy sound like Hassan? Am I crazy? Fuck.
And league coverage.
You're going to have lots of content in your inbox.
Tonight, the Ahmaud Arbery murder case is poised to go to a grand jury. 3 suspects facing possible indictments for murder, including the man who recorded this infamous video. He is now accused of helping to cause Arbery's death. Here's John Sherrick.
Behind the cell phone camera recording Ahmaud Arbery running on February 23rd in Brunswick, William Roddy Bryan, a man who the GBI says moments earlier had used his vehicle illegally as a weapon to try to trap and capture Arbery, which would be a felony. Arbery, the GBI says, somehow kept on running, but right into the guns of Travis and Greg McMichael. Alpharetta criminal defense attorney Tom Salata, who is not involved in this case, says the GBI believes that what Bryan did actually helped cause Arbery's death.
They claim that Mr. Bryant used his vehicle to attempt to unlawfully confine the victim in this case. That resulted in the death of the victim.
Bryan was not, according to GBI Director Vic Reynolds, just a witness with a cell phone camera.
We believe the evidence would indicate that his underlying felony helped cause the death of Ahmaud Arbery.
Bryan's attorney, Kevin Goff.
Mr. Bryant has committed no crime and bears no criminal responsibility in his death.
You would want to say that, look, whatever Mr. Bryant did was not a contributing factor to the death of this young man. He may have been trying to falsely imprison somebody, but it didn't result in the death of this person.
The GBI does not expect to make any more arrests in the murder investigation, but agents are still investigating prosecutors and law enforcement in the Brunswick area about the way they handled or mishandled.
I haven't watched any of the underlying footage, or I've seen like the one famous video, but I haven't seen anything else. So.
Right, and the judges, you can.
Oh, great.
Yeah, brilliant.
They choose everybody else because they wore a mask to the jury selection.
Exactly. Yeah, no,
okay.
You know, I'll tell you this. I've been asked to look into, by EA, I've been asked to look into P. Diddy's case, right?
Yeah, so I mean, the answer for why he was charged was because at least the prosecution made the argument that he was attempting to confine him. But I haven't seen the footage, but I doubt any of these guys watched the trial either because they don't seem to know anything about it as well. So,
and without talking too much about whether I will or will not do that or what the merits of that may be, I commissioned some legal work and just to sort of shine a light on what it takes to get to get anybody you want in the country today, right? So P. Diddy's been charged with RICO. Using RICO, and under that statute, which is the most astonishingly insane thing I've ever read.
Isn't he an individual in the case?
All he has. Well, they are charged. So under RICO, your life, everything you do is called an enterprise.
Oh, I know what RICO.
And anybody associated with that enterprise, can be used. So all the prosecutors have to prove in order to take his freedom away for his whole life, and maybe he did it or maybe he didn't. Is to prove that 2 people committed 2 crimes in the last 20 years who once met P. Diddy.
I know some dudes around.
Well, I'm pretty sure for RICO, it has to be in the furtherance of the criminal enterprise. You have to be associated with them, right? But
that's it. So in 20, and this is the entertainment business, for goodness sake. For 20 years, there are 2 people who hung out with P. Diddy once, each of whom committed 1 crime. And
I don't believe that's how RICO works. I think you have to prove the whole criminal enterprise first. But
he'll go down for everything, and he can go and he can go away for life with no parole.
And that is how they use that law. Make no mistake.
Life with no parole. Because 2 people who know him committed a felony sometime in the last 20 years.
In South America, that's not just one thing. It's all that. Okay, cool. Not too surprising that this is connected to U.S. and foreign influence. My question is, how much money total of our entitlements is not just the classic welfare in the form of, say, food stamps, but grant money for just the most corrupt and ridiculous transsexual theater in regular America, not just South America, right? We need to find out what this final number is because it's everything. It's not USAID, the National Park Service.
We're never going to get there. I have billions a year.
I have a question for you and for everybody who's listening, or I should say I have a tip, I suppose. We know for a fact that there are many popular liberal podcasts that run nonprofits or have nonprofits buying ad spots.
There are a lot of liberal podcasts who either run nonprofits or have nonprofits buying ad spots. How much money's worth? I've never heard of this before. Can somebody hook me up? What? Who?
Suppose. We know for a fact there are many popular liberal podcasts that run nonprofits or have nonprofits buying ad spots.
There are any popular liberal podcasts.
Whatever you want to call it.
We're going to find out.
Remember David Pakman. There's no popular.
Can you please name a single? Are we talking about like BetterHelp? Can you give like one example of this?
Well, this point I'm making is that who is funding these shows and how are they being propped up? One, obviously YouTube is propping them up, despite the fact they're clearly not popular as we just saw the results of the election. However,
how do you know how popular your online podcast is? Well, I looked at the results of the last election. Okay, so Hassan and the Majority Report and Breaking Points, that viewership is all faked because there are no socialists in office? What a fucking stupid point, but okay.
We do know that many of them sell ad space to powerful nonprofits.
Who? Can you name some?
I believe that if you track the government spending through these nonprofits, you will find it goes from government to NGO into the hands of liberal pundits.
Who? What are these nonprofits? Name them. If they're advertisements, it should literally be public. We should literally be able to just look at David Pakman's channel and go, oh my God, that's the NGO. Like, why not just name the nonprofit?
Pakman.
Now, he might not even know, and that's the important thing.
Oh, yeah, well,
no. This is important. You can.
Oh, careful! You're trying to cover his tracks here.
Accuse him of knowing. You can accuse him of intentionally taking money.
I would never accuse David Pakman of knowing anything.
Sure. There very well may be.
That was coming.
There very well may be individuals who their ad person comes to them and says, "This NGO wants to spend $100,000 in ads on your show,"
Don't
and
you
they
think
say,
you're doing that conservative thing of giving too much credit?
No.
Can you just name one example? Name one thing. Name one sponsor. Just one.
I'm saying in general, big picture.
No, they know exactly where the money's coming from. Dave Rubin knew where the money was coming from when it was coming from Russia. He used it to buy his children.
Ooh. You didn't remember that Tim Pool got dinged on this one too. Bad. This is why they don't give examples, I guess. Whoops.
That is 100% false. And you know that ropes me into it, and I can.
I like how he says it's 100% false for Dave Rubin. Really? You're going to vouch for Dave Rubin here? You're going to go out and be 100% confident that Dave Rubin didn't lie to you on any of this, but Lauren Chen did? How do you know which one is trustworthy? Interesting there, but
verify it's 100% false.
All right.
Completely untrue.
It is so,
and this is important big picture stuff because USAID is funneling money into NGOs.
It's irresponsible in the extreme to the point of ludicrous negligence to not know where hundreds of thousands of dollars are coming from.
Millions of dollars, not hundreds of thousands, but millions.
To not even ask.
And that's not the story at all. So if you knew what you're talking about, maybe it sounds smarter.
All right. Well,
but clearly, as the story has already been reported and you haven't read any of it, which involves me, which I find particularly insulting, is that certainly Dave, I, as well as Benny, did ridiculous due diligence in digging and trying to figure out what the source of the revenue.
Ridiculous due diligence. In that they received a PDF, or I'm sorry, an image of the guy saying that he did business in like 20 countries and that was good enough for them.
It was beyond your typical ad deal. So when I get an ad sale person who comes to me and says,
I hate that he keeps using. He's going to do this like 20 times. This ad sale person. This is not an ad sale though, my dude. This was a content distribution. This was a licensing agreement for your content. But he'll keep making this disingenuous comparison to ad sales because it's true. We don't vet ad sales. I don't know. If somebody comes to me like, oh, we want to advertise your shit. Okay, fine, sure. Yeah, why? Like, of course. But if you're talking about like content licensing, that's going to be a far more involved deal than just a simple somebody coming to you with an ad read.
Says this company
I didn't remember that you were involved in
this company wants to.
I also love how much of a fucking pussy ass bitch Milo is here when he admits, oh shit, I forgot that you were part of this, so I'm going to go ahead and rescind that whole line of attack, right? That is one of the most amazing bad faith, like front and center examples you could ever see and ask for a person, right? Like imagine if it was a left-leaning person and it was a story, right? Like I'm going to go so fucking hard. Oh shit, I know you remember all this. Never mind. I'm going to completely and totally abate all negativity about this particular. I'm going to pull back on everything here. My bad.
Of the revenue was beyond your typical ad deal. So when I get an ad sale person who comes to me and says, this company
I didn't remember that you were involved in this.
This company wants to sell, they want to buy $100,000 in ad reads over this amount of time. No one anywhere in media says, tell me who their investors are, get me on the phone with him. And when this stuff went down.
Nobody says that because you're just talking about a simple ad read, my dude. Nobody's talking about an ad read, though. You had a licensing deal for content distribution. Also, if it was an exceptionally huge amount of money, you probably actually do ask questions about where it comes from. I'd be surprised if you don't ask a single question. If a no-name company were to come in and offer a fucking huge amount of money for an ad read, you probably would ask some questions.
Dave, Benny, I, and many others said, we want to know what this is all about. Who is this involved with? And when you get a prominent conservative personality based out of Nashville with an American company and says, here's the investors, they're going to talk to you, explain it. Here's the proof. We go, okay, well, like a prominent conservative personality is running a company out of Nashville.
Lauren Chen.
Lauren Chen.
Was she a prominent?
No, not that prominent, no. Well, she prominent-ish, I guess. Wasn't she on the Blaze for a little bit? I don't even know if the Blaze was prominent anymore, though.
Prominent personality?
Certainly was. Hundreds of thousands of followers on the Blaze.
Hundreds of thousands of... Oh, so 300,000 followers is enough for you to take at face value anything they tell you about an advertising deal? Okay.
Blaze, everybody knew she was, and she had a story, and so we did some digging.
I've never heard of her before.
And so this is the point.
All right, I didn't remember you.
This is the big
I didn't remember you were a victim of
right.
that, so I apologize for casting aspersions if that was your impression.
So to imply...
I didn't remember you were a victim of that, but
Right. Now let's go to the big picture on USAID and other NGO funding. Now, certainly that affects us. When someone, I'll say it again, we right now have probably, 30 advertisers who've come to us and wanted to buy ads, and we said, we're in a holding pattern right now doing negotiations. They're offering us $50,000, sometimes for one ad read. One company says, we'll give you $50,000 to promote our company. Do we say, I want the CEO on the phone, I want to know who funded them, I want to know where that funding came?
No one is just talking about an ad read. This is so disingenuous. God, he's such a little snake fuck.
Nobody does that, but that wasn't quite...
And this is the point when I...
Oh, Milo almost wanted to bring that up. This wasn't quite what it was. It wasn't just an ad read. I wonder if Milo will push this.
Say about David Pakman, and you say I'm being too nice. I'm saying, when we know those things happen, take a look at where USAID was giving their money and see how much of those NGOs were buying ad reads in media because you know they are.
Well, you're not going to like this, but to take money from somebody so obviously ludicrously insubstantial as Lauren Chen and not ask more questions seems stupid to me.
Except
we did ask questions.
There were questions asked.
I don't want to continue this because I'm not trying to attack you. I didn't remember that you were.
Oh my God! How can you see such an obvious display of pussiness? I don't want to be mean to you. I don't want to be mean to you. I don't want to be mean to you.
The big picture is...
I didn't remember you were caught up in this.
When we have 30 sponsors, do you think it's reasonable for any media company to say, get their investors on the phone?
30 sponsors? Bro, no one is talking about an ad read. I've said this a million times.
Or do you only talk to their sales reps?
I've been interviewed once by Lauren Chen, and
okay, we're beyond that.
I certainly...
The point I'm making is no company, David Pakman, Kyle Kalinske, Dave Rubin, me, or otherwise, is going beyond the sales rep and their press kit to figure out that USAID or any other government or any other country is...
Sales rep or press kit? Bro, you're not getting a sales rep here. You literally filmed the fucking... Does anybody have that initial, coming soon video? Fuck, this is for the stupid fucking media. Ugh, it's all going to be not hosted anymore. You literally filmed, a little video and everything and posted on your Instagram and everything else. This is, a whole new media company you were a part of.
Funneling things into media to prop them up.
At this size, no, that's true.
Oh my God.
This size, that's true. But
not a single company does. Not a single. I'll tell you, that absolutely is.
Well,
I bought billboards through Outfront Media.
I've bought billboards. I've done Times Square just like you have.
Absolutely, and never once in any of the ads that we've bought have they come to me and said, "We want your P&L, and we want to know if you have any investors, and we want your board of directors." Nobody does it.
Nobody. That's just ad space. That's just ad space. Come on, dude. What are you talking about?
Nobody's saying that. I think you have to make room for the possibility, however, although you may have been taken in by a particular scheme, that other people went into it and were very happy not to look too deeply. It's
not the case for Dave Rubin.
Well,
nor Benny nor me. You can speak of anybody else, but I can say for those guys.
I don't necessarily take the views of people who concoct Franken-babies for paying women to birth them as a high moral standard. Or
sure, but in this regard, I can tell you.
No, I don't really take his word for anything. I don't take his word for anything for all kinds of reasons, particularly how he treated me. He's a liar. He's a liar.
Sure.
He's a slippery, slimy, gross
I can
liar.
say in this one regard that involves me, it's not the case.
I don't know that. You may know that because you know things other people don't know. But it's not an unreasonable supposition that Dave Rubin did. Look, I think we can move on from this. It is no secret that a lot of bad money has gone to people on the right and on the center right. But it's typically
so cringe. Watching these shows, yeah, it's later like watching like group therapy, like cope therapy. And they won the election and they're still like in pure cope mode. Why?
I believe he wants peace. I believe that President Putin, when I spoke to him yesterday, I mean, I know him very well. Yeah, I think he wants peace. I think he would tell me if he didn't. I'd like to see peace.
Do you trust President Putin?
I believe that, I believe that he would like to see something happen. I trust him on this subject. I think he'd like to see something happen. I think it could have happened a long time ago. I think Biden, number one, it shouldn't have started, but it did. And now all those cities are knocked down, like demolition sites. All those beautiful golden towers are knocked down. There's nothing going to replace them. But much more importantly, you lost millions of people. A lot of soldiers, but you lost millions of people. When they knocked down those cities, and they're all laying down on the side, they're lying down just in ashes and all crumbled up concrete. They literally look like a world-class demolition site, and many of them.
True. Maybe the U.S. should just buy that too. True.
People in India will naturally welcome your decision to extradite Thakur Rana to India back home. In that context, I'd like to ask you a question about, in last few years, we have seen several groups in the U.S. raising anti-India voice, calling about separation, terrorism activities in India. Do you think that should continue here in the U.S. as well?
You're going to go louder.
Mr. President, people in India would be welcoming your decision to extradite Thakur Rana to...
I can't understand a word he's saying. It's not it's the accent.
May I, sir?
President.
Not to steelman Trump, but you can hear this guy through this microphone, but the accent plus whatever the speaker system set up in here, if there's even a little bit of echoey, it might be really, really hard to understand this guy.
Terrorism activity Rana to India. Naturally welcome your decision to people in India will naturally people in India will naturally welcome your decision to extradite.
Here you go, Talbot. This is where Vivek would come in handy. Jesus. All right. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll be back reading tomorrow as well, okay? I love you guys. Be careful. Stay safe. Don't die. Welcome to the new republic. Or democracy. We're a democracy again because Trump won the popular vote. My bad. Oh, connections? Fuck. Guilt might mold ego, power expression, token must, head will guide gesture, can model symbol blueprint. Showing you how to do a thing, like a mold, a guide, a model, and a blueprint. might, power, ego, will, or head? Oh, not even one off. Never mind. Fuck me. Might, ego, power, might. That's not even one off? Okay. A token, an expression, a symbol, and a gesture. What did I say? Might, ego, head, and power? These aren't even... So two of these have to go together, right? Power and might must go together, right? Guilt, ego, head, and can. One away. Fuck me, dude. I don't know. Power, will, might. Like, capability? He can do something? That would be so stupid. Oh my god. Power, will, might. It's not ego. Did I already guess these four? What? Okay, well, what else? Hold on. Guilt. Ego. Head. Can't. Like, you're stuck, like you feel guilty. He's egotistical, he's trapped in his head, stuck in his head. Must? Can? Can. It's gotta be some wordplay bullshit. It's gonna be, this is gonna be so cringe. Power. The Kanye West song, it's not that, is it? No. Must. Head strong, guilt strong, can strong. Did I already get? I don't know, bro. Fuck me. This one? I don't know. The fuck? What did I... Modal verbs. Can, might, must. Well, oh my god. Really? I don't even know what a modal verb is. And then an ego trip, a guilt trip, a head trip, and a power trip. He's a head trip. What does that mean? Like they're crazy? Meh. Okay, if I get a 970, we're going to see Metal Gear Solid 4 tier, Roberts and President Trump 1v1 boxing to save America. 970 or higher. We need a 970. Okay, let's go. We got this. Easy. Fuck this country. All right, good luck. I'll see you tomorrow. Don't die.